Let us begin. Ooh, right. Things got moved around when I had the place cleaned. All right. This is Granblue Radio number 385. And we just had a new release, and we had some Choreogra. Choreogra, I'd call this one a relatively light month also, but there will be a few things to talk about, but a lot of it we'll just go through when it's done. Um, but I went to the co-op screen instead of the draw screen. We've got ourselves a new character. One who, uh, let's see here. Wait, this is the Valentine's thing. So we've got two new characters, one who's grand and one who's not. Did you want to start with the flashy new one or the other one?
You choose.
All right, let's go with Vane because it's easier for me to access that. Because he showed up in single rolls for me. Ah. So we've got the third of four Grand Dragon Knights.
I was
And
surprised it was Vane.
a lot of people, based on like popularity, would have picked Siegfried much earlier, you
Also,
know?
don't forget, Vane was the last one last time.
True. He was the fourth one to. He was the last one of them to get SSR at all. So, um, the surprise also is that he's wind. I guess they wanted to balance it out so that at this point, Grand Siegfried is going to be Earth sometime in 2025 or 2026. So we've got the Knight of Ice, we've got the Lord of Flames, and now Vane is being positioned as the Knight of the Swan, which is, if you don't know your Wagnerian opera or your medieval folklore cycles, it's a very interesting story to read. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's neither here nor there. Uh, what they did with him is they essentially upgraded his water kit and his flavor for current wind realities and also like a world of full auto because in his water version, uh, you hit a green button in order for him to go into super mode. This one happens much more automatically. So what we do is we go straight to Unshakable Oath to start. So we have Unshakable Earth, which says when Vane is an ally at the main ally at the start of combat, he eats 30% of his max HP, so he starts with his own version of Bloodshed. He also has a 3 next to his Undying number, so he wants to uh, get hit 3 times lethally. And also
To
everyone.
note is
Oh,
that
go ahead.
they did add the how many times how many undyings are left. This is a good reason why.
This
The
is
other
one of the
person
big reasons,
is
yeah.
three.
hmm he also shields everyone else but himself on entry, uh, which
But considering that
is,
you want him to take lethal damage, yeah,
yeah.
and he's
Um,
undying, so he doesn't need the shield.
Right. But given that a lot of burst content for wind, you give yourself bloodshed either with like Show Fist or was it the Galleon Floaty was the other one? And then even Magna's in on this act, and you run Spartan and you do all of those things that like eat HP and you hit the attack button. Well, this is another way to reward yourself for it. Uh, but based on the number of times his Undying has been eaten, the first one is he counters on taking damage. He
Two
casts
hits counter.
oh, go ahead. 2 hits, yep. He casts Wild Beat at the end of the turn. The second time he's survived lethal damage,
That's the most
which
important one.
which is a dispel at the end of every turn, and he deals permanent triple attacks while this is up. Well, while this is up, being if he's casting it every turn. Um, and then if he is in super mode, we'll get to that later, then this skill also heals him for a pretty significant amount.
It's 2,500. Because the next part of Unshakable Oath is 20% boost to healing specs,
hmm
which doesn't matter until this, or you're looking at like a lot of refreshes.
hmm And admittedly, there's things like Catsalia existing in the front line that gives you healing. Astariola heals you every turn. There's a lot of just incidental heals that fly around, sort of to support the.
Stariola wouldn't count. because he heals you, not
Oh, right. It's
Vane
because
healing
this
himself.
Katsulia is Vane healing himself because it's passive. It's like regen and things like that. You're
Yes.
right. You're right. Um, but yeah, so he wants to get to level 3, and once he gets to level 3, he can cast Indomitable Conviction, which is a permanent buff. He heals himself to full, just like his water version. He gets rid of all of his debuffs. And then he gets the following list of buffs. He gets attack up, which
100% perpetuity.
he gets a big old defense up.
He has 300% defense, so that means he is taking 1/4 of the damage.
Isn't that Willness's number too that he takes one? Yeah, Willness's number is 300% also, which I think is the highest out of all of the dragons. It
It's
might be
pretty.
the same as Wamdis. Yeah, Wamdis also gets 300.
Oh, Webs is the defensive one.
Yeah. Oh, Galleon also gets it. I think it might just be Fediel and Luo who don't get it then. And, well, Ewiar. Let's see. Let me just make sure of Ewiar's. Yeah, Ewiar's is only, quote unquote, only 100%, so Ewiar takes half damage. Uh, Luo doesn't give defense at all.
He just heals.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Fediel lowers your defense and then brings it back up. So it is the good dragon number. Three of the 6 dragons have that number, which is still a very impressive number. Anyway, moving on. Uh, his damage cap goes up.
By
Uh,
30%.
30% is higher than normal. Usually you get like 10 or 20% for a lot of these things for, just general cap up. Uh, debuff resistance raised to I think 100.
It's 100.
Yeah. And then he gets personal dispel cancel. Just
Well, I think the more important part also is that your buffs can't get shortened.
yes, which has been something that they've put on dispel cancel recently. They changed a lot of the text to update it. But yeah, so while he's doing that, everything's going on. He's dispelling and healing himself at the end of every turn. He's got 30% extra cap. He's got like a heal for at least 3,000 or so that he does to himself every turn. Um, he's triple attacking. Uh, his second passive is at full strength, so he gives himself the full number for amp, which is, let me see here. What is the amplification number?
His amp max is 20%.
20%. Okay. But yeah, so that's one of the things that you get with him. So that's his goal. Get beaten down 3 times and then come back up and then just become a mighty wall for the rest of the fight. So here's the rest of the kit. So here's Brave Destruction. This is his normal skill one. You'll get this until he's in super mode, and it does defense down, nuke, and then it's all ally sub, which lasts for 3 turns. So there's a very clear goal here, which is during these first 3 turns, um, then use the uh, use the all sub to get yourself hit down to 1, and then hit past 1, and then hit past 1, and then you're in super mode. Once he is in super mode with Indomitable Conviction, then it's Mighty Destruction, which still gives him Substitute for 3 turns at a time. It refreshes the Undying effect on him once. It adds the damage mitigation to his
Dude,
all sub, which is also a very important part of all sub if you actually want to survive the whole thing. It's what? It's 2,000. It's not the biggest, but it's still significant. Um, And then, let's see, is there anything else on there? Oh yeah, he also adds minus attack along with the minus defense. That part is, it's fine. The rest of
What you
this
mean? It's
kit,
fine. People don't bring mist anymore half the time, so this is your
because of these,
mist. It's on dual stacking.
yeah, fair enough. And then the last part of
Also,
this,
it's
yeah,
also
go
a
ahead.
two hit too, which is also pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I almost missed the second hit. And given that a lot of wind has just extra skill damage, then yeah, it's there is a clear purpose and a dream here. And then the last part of this whole thing is that his CA normally gives him it gives an extra nuke, so he does big damage. Then he does the pretty beefy hit. It's right around the same damage that skill 1 does. And then it becomes unworldly with a like doubled cap and things like that when he is in super mode. And then yeah, he also gives himself a 50% chaser for
Or
the
three
next 3 turns.
turns.
Yeah. So I mean, all the chips are on the table there. Your goal is first 3 turns or just some sequence of 3 turns, get him killed 3 times. Mostly just the first time matters, because after that, hopefully you're at 1 and you stay close to 1, and then he gets hit again with the all sub, and then he goes back down to 1, and then even if you have the passive heals going and stuff like that, the third turn happens again, and at that point, you have Super Vane. And at that point, you're doing things like dispelling every turn, which matters in things like Siegfried and Unite and Fight Nightmares next month. Dread Barrage probably. Um, a lot of places don't, uh, other than those two, don't really require that much dispelling anymore. It's like, or it requires multiple dispels, so it's not just him. So it'd be like, um, Beelzebub. This still matters, for example. Uh, Places like Blue Lucifer, it still matters. Um, but the rest of it is still a pretty beefy part of the package here. Uh,
You just need
the
to find the place where you would you have a good chance of dying from all sub.
Right. So for example, he Galleon doesn't attack you, so he's just not going to take any damage there. It's like, well, we'll bring other characters there. Siegfried will try and murder the crap out of him for the first 3 turns, as we mentioned. So he's got a great matchup against Siegfried, which is kind of ironic, given that he says that he's never been able to beat Siegfried before,
Well,
but he's
you
trying.
can do it now, Vane.
Yeah, he
You couldn't
can.
do it when you were water.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's what the talking to the Swan gave him, is the ability to beat Sigman. Um, like if you take him to Yggdrasil Magna 3, she actually doesn't hit hard enough for him to go into super mode until like the very end of the fight. So there's better options there. Lucy? Lucy
Also, you
actually
want
can't
also
beat him that.
that one wants a lot of debuffs too.
Hmm.
So it's like he doesn't provide any. He provides two debuffs. It's like where's Ami?
Yeah, exactly. But he's not great everywhere, but he's got some very, very solid places to be.
He he is very convincing to bring in a lot of places.
Hmm.
However, people like to ignore that characters can have use cases.
Yeah.
So the internet sucks.
Um, Lucy Zero. I'm curious how he would work there. It's like Lucy Zero can in fact beat the snot out of him. He's got a red and a he's got a red and a yellow. Thinking
Well,
about
the
it.
yellow is very
Yeah, that's true actually.
situational.
The the problem with characters who have a yellow button that only gets pressed once is that the yellow apple in Lucy Zero is the worst one to have on you because it makes you miss.
Look, then you're just pretending that he's holding a Mjolnir like you do in a relink.
Fair enough. But yeah, so that's one part of the puzzle. The second part of the puzzle is the actual weapon. And the actual weapon, let's go take a look at this thing.
A is an axe.
It is an axe. It's not a spear. Um, and the thing is that it is an axe with defensive purposes. So, I mean, I have seen it being used as a berserker slash Viking. Let's see. Let's go to the journal for this one. Uh, not characters. It's under field notes. Let's go to wind
I do like
axes.
the new skill verve.
Yeah. So Verve, it's medium HP and medium stamina, which um, runs opposite to the burst wind comps. But you know what? That's fine. This is not going to go in necessarily the same grids as those.
You're not
Defender's,
using this burst.
yeah. So here's Defender's Vow. When you're using the first slot skill, so either the ignition as a berserker or the shield sworn, um, whatchamacallit, or Apsaris one, all of those, then all wind allies get damage mitigation and they get a veil.
That's really
The
good.
yeah, the
You just get
next
a free
one,
veil.
hmm the next one that you get is uh, the Argent Halberd, and that one gives you when a wind ally removes a foe's buff. So it's the Enyo text. There has to be a buff there, and no matter how it is removed, whether it's by passive or um, thing that happens after you CA or whatever, then this happens. 3 hits of wind damage to everyone, hit to wind defense, and all wind allies heal. Um, and then the CA on this thing is you dispel, so that feeds the Argent Halberd a little bit. Uh, and then the 4-star effect of it is that you get a nuke, and that nuke is 800k base, so it's about 25% stronger than Vane's CA1, CA nuke. So this thing is also relatively situational. Having an axe main hand, um, especially on something that is for long fights, like you can berserker with this in a long fight. It's
Or you
perfectly
can
reasonable.
lumberjack.
You can lumberjack with this. Wind has so many hearts to lumberjack with. Go ahead.
Lumberjack is like the most use case because it's how defensive the thing is.
hmm I think Shield Sworn is a good use for it too, but yeah. Um, the thing that I'm kind of amused by is that when people looked at that skill, they went, "Wait a second, this looks familiar." And where are you? Moons, gold moons, illustrious. It's so find wind, clear heart from the blazing mistral. When main weapon, when a fire ally removes a foe's buff, 2 hit fire damage, heal, and then meter. So um, it's very similar to the effect that an illustrious weapon already has. That said, it's one of the 2 worst illustrious weapons. So it feels like Cygames has decided, okay, this one's safe. But anyway, I find that relatively funny. Where it's like, I guess that one's safe. We can use that again.
So are they gonna buff Blazing Mistral then?
I don't know. Maybe they will. I'm not sure. They haven't said anything about
Oh,
it. If oh, go ahead.
they don't really buff weapons. Really is keywords.
Yeah, because it's like they did buff the previous tier once because there was that round where like Damascus knife, um,
I thought that was they gave
they
it
gave him
another
another
star.
star. Yeah,
The only time they've ever changed a weapon was Folia's bow
true. There were uh,
and
there
Europa's
were a couple of
spear.
grants that changed. Yeah.
You said a couple of grams. I think they were all water.
There were, I want to say there were 3. I'd have to go look at those patch notes again. But that said, yeah, they don't change these weapons that often. They may try and give some of these like the most token of uh like 5-star uncaps, except for the ones that are considered bad. So that would be Blazing Mistral and Murcielago. We'll see. That's
I don't
that's a
know.
ways off. Go ahead.
Last time they did this last batch, they just gave it to everybody.
Hmm. They just gave everybody one with
Yeah.
yeah. Here's your Excalibur. Go use one. All right. Anyway, that is the Vane portion of it. Um, he, I like Vane as a character. He's one of my favorite Dragon Knights related characters. Period. Um, and so like he deserves this. There's been a surge of support on social media from Vane enjoyers because there are many. Vane is one of the top 10 male characters in this game. He's, the one that everybody wants to be their big brother. Those polls are fun. I can't wait to see what happens for the year 11 poll. But it's a cool set. Like it's not moving mountains and it doesn't need to. In fact, we've talked about this a lot. We don't want it to. He has clear places to be, and that's good enough. Speaking of
Anyway,
clear,
see you
oh,
next
go
year,
ahead.
Dragon Knight.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna take a second to go into the line stirs. Did you play it yet?
No.
Okay. So, um, this is going to be a mild spoiler for you, but it doesn't actually end.
I mean, to be fair, I would have to go through 5 years of Dragon Knight storyline.
Yeah. The big thing was that within a few hours of the line stirs, the thing that was trending on social media was anniversary event because people who read this story and came out of it went, that is the opening to an anniversary event. That is not a full story event. Like things happened. It's not like nothing happened. It's just that when you finish reading it, you're just like, that certainly was set up. So you're probably happier for not having read it in some ways because I know that the ones that just don't end don't sit well with you.
Well, there it is. There still hasn't ended about it, and that's my favorite.
Hmm. All right,
The things that actually sit well with me is waiting weeks for each part of a anniversary event.
fair enough. All right, so the next part of this is we've got another character also related to Dragon Knights, not a Dragon Knight herself, but all the way down here, down in Dark, we've got ourselves a new version of Florence. Where is she? There she is. So, we have ourselves another skill sister. Because you see here, this one says Oblivion Crest. This one gives it to herself. Uh, this one is an Oblivion Crest, I believe, to all allies for skill 3.
It is
And
to all allies.
yeah, those are her crest granting abilities. The rest keys off of crest or something like that. So um, we start with her support skill, which is at the end of the turn in which another dark ally grants an Oblivion Crest to Florence. Then she gets to cast her skill 2, and her skill 3 gets a 1-turn cooldown cut. So, similarly to Summer Hecate, but different in execution, you want to give her essentially one crest a turn after turn 1, so that she just keeps doing this. Um, and then your reward for all of this also is that her backline passive or her frontline passive, her crest passive, is defense up based on Oblivion crests, which not too many characters have actually.
Well, that
There's
requires them to print more crest characters.
Yeah, that's true. But some of them
Anyways,
have
you
like
get 10%
elemental reduction.
per stack.
10% per stack, so 50% when it's
Yeah.
maxed out. That's not bad at
Well,
all. Whoop.
some characters do. I forget if there are dark characters who eat their stacks or not. Is the thing.
I would have to look up Oblivion Crest characters again because Manamel doesn't. Um, Let me think here. Let me filter for this. Dark. So Magisa, I don't think consumes her crests.
Florence does.
Oh, never mind. Magisa does have one. But it is reactive, and it says when an ally has 5 Oblivion crests, the ally consumes one of their crests to nullify um, a dispel. So that's a passive use of them. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she is trying to cast her skill 3 more often and her skill 2 more often. Her skill 2 is skill specs up, stackable, so the more times you cast it, the better it gets.
It caps at five stacks.
Mhm. It gives armored, so even more defense for 3 turns. So every time that you cast it, then it refreshes the stack of this. And it's a moderate heal, like 1500. It's a small heal at this point in the game. Who are we kidding? But once again, they're asking you to spam this. Her skill 3 gives debuff immunity. It gives spell cancel, um, and then the special effect that it has on her, Stellato, is that she gives herself 50% dark attack for 5 turns, 50k skill supplement, and
That's
then
okay. She only has 2 hits.
mhm, and then after after attacking, she will eat one of her crests and cast Reprimere il Confito, aka her skill 1, which you said is the 2 hits here.
That's 4 hits actually. When she's actually doing this part.
hmm And so it's minus defense, minus attack and minus debuff resistance here. Um, and yeah, so there's your goal. You want to have 5 turn uptime and as little downtime as possible on Vestire Stellato here, so that she attacks, she casts the debuff resistance and attack down, and then she also casts the heal and armor, and you want to loop, you want to loop that.
Unfortunately, her specific test is that it has to be another ally that gives her Oblivion Crest.
Yeah, and so we've mentioned how there are some selfish crest characters, and a lot of the time, a lot of your crests will be given away on turn 1, and then a lot of them just max out and stay there, and then they don't give more crests until later. And also, since it's based on the turn, going past that 5 crest limit doesn't do anything like Hecate. Um, they like as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you go, it's like, oh, good, put more once a turn things on there. Like this happens once a turn, because I know that Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of very abusable effects that people wish would get restricted to once a turn.
Jokes on you. They rest once a turn, but they forget to put the card's name on it, so it's a soft once per turn.
Great. Um, but the other things about this is like, so she doesn't just work with Zosimos that way. Like it does, you're if you're doing Zosima stuff, I mean, it's fine. It's not going to be bad for her. But for example, if you're just like an Onmyoji with the Dark Opus, because the Dark Opus grants a crest when you CA, then she'll get one, and then at the end of that turn, she'll do her thing. Um, so you don't necessarily have to be a mana diver to take advantage of this. That said, if you're doing Onmyoji things as Dark with your Opus main hand, there's a lot of other things that also do better because she's not exactly like a crazy CA character. She's she's a skill and sustain character basically. But I don't know. I think she's fine,
I think she's
right?
just all right. Let's
Yeah.
and but she's not good if you're playing anything about Minor Diver though, because there's not that many ways to generate crest outside of building around her. At that point, you're already playing a Minor Diver team.
Yeah. True.
At least you can now CA as a Minor Diver.
Mhm. Yeah, with the Agastya one.
Yeah,
Well, CAing as a mana diver doesn't give you a crest very often because your opus is a katana. So, um, it would be it basically be like Kengo with opus, Yamato with opus, um, Onmyochi with
that
opus.
I was thinking of Zosimov's like removing a cooldown
Yeah,
or
fair
one
enough.
turn from your cooldown. So
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, true. But yeah, so um, interestingly flavored. You're trying to essentially force crests in harder content with her, basically, because she's very defensive compared to the other crest characters. Given that Menemel is essentially she tries to play at being a suicide character. She's like, hit me. Wait, no, not that way. You know.
mhm.
Uh, we've got like Magisa, who is very offensive. She just nukes more and more and more. She, things like that. All right, so that's that. The next thing that we've got. So the one thing I do want to just mention that's coming in the month of October, other than the rebalances, is that we've got a secret hidden rebalance coming um, with a 5-star, and they're allotting that slot to a character who has been left in the like sort of in the dust for when did they last update her? It was like 5 years ago or something. Ariat?
Last one was 2018.
6 years ago. It has been 6 years since they updated this kit. And I did use philanthropy back in the day. This used to be cool. It's like, oh wow, she can make someone double strike. We had a lot of
And
double
then
strikes, you know.
Koro, the summer Koro could just do that every turn.
Yeah, Elyard does it passively on turn 6 to the whole team, you know. Um, but they've been making a focused effort on wind and harp in particular. It seems like with some other teams of harp stuff like coming together slowly, but Cantate and Karo and UL and Katse, like they're starting to do more things that just encourage you to do skill focus. And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens to Ariette, like a very forgotten character at this point. People were very surprised when this character
They'll
got
give her a
updated.
sword.
hmm Yeah, I mean, Ariette with the sword was a staple of my swordcraft deck. Like that character was unfair in Evolved Sword. But anyway, we'll find out. It's just one of those things to call out and saying, well, that was unexpected. Um, the other thing to note is that the more wind characters get updated, the sadder that Carmelina gets. She's still, I think, the only character that you can get from your original 6 uh, that does not have a 5-star yet. Like they've updated her. She's decent. It's just that, like the characters all around her in wind release order have gotten 5 stars now because it was what? Like Gawain was the first, he got his 5-star. Um, there's been a lot since then that have all gotten their 5-star.
One day.
One day, Carmelina.
Yeah, and yeah, you have to not you have to do mental gymnastics of all right, how do we make this like actually like worth using?
Mm-hmm. Cause yeah, it's like,
She's usable. The problem is she's not worth using.
mm-hmm. because they did great by Petra. Petra's great. Um, Birdman was pretty good for a while. Melissa Bell and Uesis did pretty well for themselves. A few of these were unimpressive, but anyway, Urias's is a good 5-star. Grimnir's 5-star is getting updated this month. We'll find out what happens there. Anyway, that was just sort of the side note I wanted to mention. The last thing is just a silly little thing that's been going on. Is that hold on, let me do something real quick. So something that was asked of us last week that I've just been doing is that since it's the 10th anniversary, NorCal Granblue, some friends of ours, um, asked like, what are your favorite pieces of Granblue Fantasy merchandise? And so I asked the other members of the team for Granblue EN what their favorites were. But DJ, did you have any particular favorites that you wanted to call out? Like I asked you last week, and you've had some time to think about it.
Hold on, think about that one again. I think the stupid Santa font merch with for Cafe Millennia is so good.
Oh, all of the Cafe Millennia stuff? Yeah, let's see
Yeah,
here.
like I now have a serving tray. I have an apron. I have some socks.
That's right, he has
I have a floor.
socks.
I have a floor mat.
Yeah, there's like a set of coffee cups. It started out just very practical, right? It's like, oh yeah, coffee cups. You said you have a floor mat? Yeah, the welcome
Like
mat.
a
That's
floor
right,
mat.
there it is. Does the sandwich press count as Cafe Millennia, or no? Does that not count for you?
Does not count.
Because they've used that sandwich press thing at Cafe Millennia, if I remember right. You can have your sandwiches pressed with the Supreme Primarch's face. But yeah, I mean, that's valid. That is funny. It's like, oh yeah, they made a snow globe.
That one I do not use.
Well, here's the socks. I remember the socks now. They're they're socks. They are exactly what they are intended to do. Where was the snow globe? Let's see. Here's the drip coffee set. The dish drying mat. That's right. I can't say anything bad about this because I actually use a piece of like video game kitchen merchandise now because I actually am using the stupid Pina bar mat that we got. But yeah, and then we've got the 10th anniversary store. Did you look through any of that?
No, I just saw the cheese, and that's all I looked at.
Yeah, I'm definitely picking up one of these. Um, but that's me. Um, the things, the thing I think would catch your eye is that there's new near stuff, um, and including the plush form, the near on a carabiner. Look at this. She's hold on. You're cutting out a little bit there. You good?
I don't know. We'll find out.
All right. So anyway, that's the thing that I just looked at and went, yeah, DJ might want that. It's Let's see. The near pouch actually is also really good looking. This thing's good. Anyway, we've got a month to figure it out, and they won't ship until February, so they'll ship right in time for the 11th anniversary.
Thank
And
you, 10th store.
yeah, thank you 10th anniversary store. Um, I did say that if like Isaiah said that if I got him the LER onesie, he would wear it on commentary, and it's like that's tempting. It's tempting to spend 9,500 yen on a shit post.
I mean, I spent more than that on his. So
Yeah, you got the pillow for him, right? Our man one.
yeah, and now we have that picture that's always so good use.
Yeah, that's true. Now I'll think about it. I'll think about it more seriously. The thing that I won't think about seriously, but will continue to bring up, is the 150,000 yen um, embroidered uh, Lucifer. And to be fair, it's probably worth it because the craftsmanship on this thing is exquisite. Like,
He's also embroidered. So
yeah. So anyway, the 10th anniversary store has some really cool things. You can get things via Bai now for their like full overseas shipping integration. Um, but yeah, there's some cool stuff in here. You should look it up. The the acrylic stand, by the way, is just funny to me because it's called the mashi mashi. It's a very like Gyaru thing of just putting more stuff on it to make it busier and somehow cuter at the same time. So it's a regular picture frame, but you stick extra pictures on it, so there's more pictures on your picture, and then there's a charm to hang off of the picture, and then an acrylic stand to go in front of the picture. Because sure, just just put more on there.
yeah, that sounds right. That's why I've been sitting around here.
Yeah, for sure. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing in excess, I guess. But anyway, so that's it. This time next week, there will be a few things that happen on the 7th. We've got Rise of the Beasts with Uruki coming. So that'll be interesting, just to see what the water character does. And until then, well, DJ, you've got a couple more days in Japan. Enjoy them. It finally started cooling down over there, didn't it?
Depends.
Oh,
On average. I
oh,
mean, today and yesterday it was raining, so it did cool down.
I call that a positive. It's super hot in California right now, so I've barely left the house.